Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. Today I have the pleasure of reviewing an IM from a company don't believe I've ever listened to any of their products. This is the Astrotec and this is the GX100. I want to thank Astrotec and let's get moving. I'd like to title this review as Shine Bright. Astrotec has been around for some time, for those in the know in the IEM market, but it's not one of those companies that may be at the forefront of people's minds when you think about IEMs. On their website, they spell out their purpose, though. It says, Astrotec's endless pursuit of exploration in acoustic technology and the combination of acoustics and aesthetics. That is a direct quote from the Astrotec website. The $50 GX100 is new as of this video, one of the two products that is new. Concerning the price, sits at the bottom of their product line, is a diminutive-sized IEM with a combination metal resin housing and a hybrid driver complement of a single 10mm LCP driver working alongside a 10.6mm piezoelectric ceramic driver. So this is what it looks like. It's very tiny. I believe the drivers are actually concentric in their construction. And that's it. It's really a small IEM. Very small. We'll talk about that in a minute. The website description states that the technologies employed do not use a crossover. So that means generally when not using a crossover with two different drivers in particular, of completely different technologies here, it does require some knowledge on how to get them to work together. Using a crossover as well, but this is a different approach. Also, Astrotec boasts that they have followed the Harman curve, but they don't indicate which Harman curve. I'm a little bit at odds with that. I didn't really consider these to be as Harman as others I've heard, and we'll talk about that maybe a little later, or you'll become aware of that as I discuss the sound. Tuning wise, we have a definite bright neutral sound, aka heart mirror. If people remember back, the HZ sound heart mirror. Upper mids and treble are prominent here, with the bass just a step in the background. The bass here, for the most part, does take somewhat of a back seat, but there's some qualities about the bass that are quite substantial here. I'm not really one to use EQ. If you followed my videos, you'll know that I never talk about EQ because I just don't use it. But with the GX100, the built-in bass boost of the XDO XA02, an incredible amplifiers DAC duo that I really have to review one day. And the Iffy Hip DAC did wonders with their... The Iffy Hip DAC has X-Bass, very intelligently done bass boost. Did wonders with the GX100's sonic balance. The GX100 handled the boost beautifully and really highlighted the quality bass it can produce. Most sources can easily power this IEM. Let's get you another look. No issues powering this IEM at all. But I will tell you that for my listening, and what I recommend is that a warmer source be used. Not only used, but it is required. One issue was that because of the small size of the IEM, though, tip rolling was more than essential to get it to firmly seat in my ears with a good seal. In order to get the maximum bass out of these, you really need a proper seal. And while this nozzle looks long and extended, because of the diminutive size of the IEM and it's not thick at all, it found it difficult to have a fit. And I'm not the only one, but enthusiasts will have multiple tips hanging around. I chose a long nozzle, narrow bore tip, and it did well in order to keep it firmly seated in my ear. Not having a good seal, though, will definitely adversely affect the bass here, which already sometimes will be heard to take a back seat. So you really want to give the bass as much chance as possible. So, let's talk about specifications. 10 millimeter LCP diaphragm dynamic driver, and 10.6 millimeter piezoelectric ceramic driver. Frequency response is 5 hertz to 40 kilohertz. That high end, of course, goes a lot higher because of the piezoelectric driver. 32 ohm impedance, sensitivity 100 decibels per 1 milliwatt. Maximum input, they say, is 10 milliwatts. Cable, it comes with a silver-plated, high-purity, oxygen-free copper cable, 0.78 millimeter, 0.78 millimeter, if you can see it right there. So you can use many cables on the market, and it ships with a 3.5 millimeter stereo cable, single-ended. Here's the cable. I will say that at $50, the cable is a kind of a definitely improvement over many cables in this price range, but I'm not saying it's a keeper. It's just a good cable, nothing outstanding, but it is quite nice. Build and fit, nice looking IEM. If you can see it again, it's got a kind of a smoky, clear resin shell. It's capped with a metal cap. Build quality is good, absolutely, no issues there. Shape and small size required extensive tip rolling to get a good fit, a good secure fit, where not only it's sealed, but went deep enough in my ear to help the bass response. So tip rolling may be necessary for some. The supplied accessories are sparse but of good quality. We have a pack of tips, which I didn't even bother opening. I can already see that they weren't the ones that would have fit my ear the best. And we have an Astrotec bag, just a storage bag, a fabric bag. And that's pretty much it for accessories. Long listening sessions were comfortable, absolutely, once I found the proper tips, so it is tip dependent. And the retail package is basic, but it's well appointed. It's nice. It's nicely done. So let's talk about the sound. Bass. Bass goes moderately deep, but I'll touch on that in a minute. Great quickness and snap, but missing a little bit of power and force there. Bass control, resolution, and speed are definitely notable. Mid-bass has good speed and responsiveness. You can easily adjust the sub-bass roll-off with EQ, and the GX100 handles it very well. That's the thing about the bass that may, almost like a chameleon-like bass. In its stock form, the bass is there to serve as a foundation. Mind you, not a forceful foundation, but it is there. No one will mistake this as bass head, I'll tell you that much. Bright neutral, most definitely. But when I use the bass boost, I didn't EQ it directly, but I used the bass boost built into my X2 amp or the Iffy Hip DAC. It came alive and showed that it can reach deep. And the bass has a nice taut richness to it. Kind of impressive, actually. But it needs that little bit of help. Because the mids and the treble can and quite often overshadow the bass here. Mid-range. Good clarity and composure with a vibrant presentation. No one will say that this is lays in the background or is a laid-back IEM. That it is not. Detail retrieval, macro and micro is notable, with macro over micro focus here. Not much warmth in the mids. There's a touch, just a touch of warmth in the lower mids, but when listening to John Stoddart and some other Luther Vandross and a few other, I found that the lower mids did lack the warmth, yet the mids never sounded sterile at all. Pleasing timbre and balance, if somewhat brighter in presentation. The upper mid-range shows elevation, yet there is hardly any harshness detected. That's the one thing. If you're going to make a bright neutral IEM, folks, make sure it's not harsh, because that's just going to exacerbate all kinds of problems. The GX100 avoids that, thank goodness. It does have a lot of energy in the upper mid-range and treble region, yet it doesn't come off as harsh, at least on well-recorded material. Note weight is not class leading. Now, this is one thing that it does lack in a bit, and that is note weight, which can affect things like transients. Transients are handled very well, have a rapid attack, but they lack a certain amount of impact because of only the moderate note weight heard. That being said, pin gain is just above moderate, well, slightly more than just above moderate. Again, no harshness or sibilance was heard on good, well-recorded tracks. Poorly recorded tracks did not do as well, but on well-recorded tracks, the GX100 really showed itself what it can do. Layering and separation are also notable for a $50 IEM, and this again is very important when you have an IEM tuned to be bright neutral, in that if you don't have that layering and separation capability, things start to sound very quickly like that wall of sound, that two-dimensional sound that really detracts from being able to be pulled into the music. Treble. So yes, layering and separation are good here. Treble, the treble is well extended, ample treble energy. This is not the treble for treble sensitive people, not the IM for that. Detail retrieval is good. Sparkle and air is there in quantity as well. The treble here adds spaciousness to the sound, and this is heard when we're talking about the imaging and sound stage in a bit. So let's pull together what the sound is of the GX100. The overall sound is quite vibrant with good clarity. This is not a sound for the treble sensitive listener, as the bright neutral tuning is what the GX100 offers out of the box, and unashamedly so. Indeed, I found it bright, yet not overly aggressive. Even though the bass is of high quality, the forwardness of the mids and the treble, I should say, and more often than not, kind of overshadows the bass. But, and a big but, generally I'm not one to use EQ, but did find that the built-in bass boost offered by, again, the X2 XAO2 and the X-Bass of the IFI Hip DAC really brought some tangible benefits to the overall sonic balance of the G100. The driver in here is obviously of good quality. It handled that moderate boost well and really brought things more into perspective when it comes to sound. Brought up the bass shelf to be more in line with the energy of the upper registers. And that's when I thought I really heard the potential of this IM. It's actually quite good sounding. Out of the box, if you're a lover of bright neutral, and I'm a guy who likes bright neutral, mind you, this is a little bit more than usual for me, but that being said, when I use the X-Bass, it really made this IM much more enjoyable. This adjustment, EQ adjustment, was not always required, really genre specific, but the GX100 took this boost like a champ, which made me appreciate its sound even more, bringing its high quality bass into clearer focus. Imaging and soundstage. Moderately sized soundstage, instrument placement is accurate. Dimensions are moderate with adequate spacing around instruments. That goes your layering and separation kicking in right there. The presentation of dimensions is natural with notable air. I was listening to Vanston Place 12 AM by Ronnie Jordan. I was impressed with the amount of air around just the soundstage and the air around the instruments. Dimensional cues here, though, are carried mostly by the mids and treble as the bass is more subdued. Of course, with the little EQ trick I spoke of before, that changes. Bass is as important for spatial cues or feeling of space quite often as mids and treble. But with the GX100, really out of the box, it's the mids and the treble that really dictate the spaciousness. And the treble does have a nice spaciousness to it. So let's hit the conclusion. Astrotec's GX100 bucks the trend with a bright neutral tuned IM built for clarity and detailed. I don't know why they call it Harman. I didn't really hear the Harman in this per se. Yes, it has hints of Harman, absolutely. But it is definitely a bright neutral IM. While its energetic presentation may not be for everyone, I did find that with a little help, the high quality bass could be easily brought up to offer an even more balanced sound. I found that with this little trick, the GX100 rose above many of its direct competitors. The GX100 and its dynamic / piezoelectric drivers, the setup it has here, offers up a sound that does not sit in the back seat, but one that stands up. For those who value energetic, bright neutral tuning with EQ adaptability, the Astrotec GX100 could be of interest. Out of the box, you can do certain things. Narrow bore tips. Tip selection is very important. Copper cable, warm source. And if you feel so, and you really want to hear what they're capable of as well, a little bit of the lift of the bass shelf. Again, this is one of those IEMs that do not sound like its graph as provided by Astrotec. It sounds a little bit more upper mid and treble leading, although with great clarity, and again, not really devoid of much harshness or any, particularly when listening to higher quality recorded material. It's a good IEM. At $50, it does buck the trend. Doesn't sound like your typical IEM tuned in that price range. Many people they don't take chances. I don't want to mention any names, but a lot of IEMs sound almost the same. Middle of the road tuning. The GX100 is not one of them. Astrotec has gone out on a limb here and tuned it a certain way. So that's my review of the Astrotec GX100. Thanks again for joining me on Silicon Sounds. Look forward for more videos. And until then, take care from Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us.